Is TMNT Mutant Mayhem Nickelodeon and Paramount Spider-Verse? Let's talk about it now. Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watcher Pass, and I'm here to talk to you about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, which comes to theaters on August 2nd, 2023. It is a animated reboot of the whole Ninja Turtles storyline, the whole Ninja Turtles franchise from Nickelodeon and Paramount. And my hot take is, look, I definitely think you should watch it. It was really good. It was really enjoyable. It had a lot of Spider-Verse vibes. Like, it had a really nice animation style and some really great music that kind of like, at times was almost overwhelming, but definitely kind of gave you this exciting feel. Plus, it was also pretty funny. Now, was it as good as Spider-Verse? No, I don't think it was as good as Spider-Verse, but Spider-Verse is probably my favorite animated movie of all time. So that's a really tough act to follow, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem is really good and really enjoyable. Now, if you're wondering if it's fine for kids, I think it's probably fine. Now, look, there's a little bit of rude humor, which you'd expect, because remember, Raphael is rude but cool. And there's a little bit of kind of like scary scenes at the start. So don't take like young kids to it, but most kids should be fine. And there's plenty of humor and funny moments to keep them entertained. And while you're watching, there's a stinger in the credits about halfway through that you really have to see. So all that out of the way, I'm going to tell you a little more about the film, a few things I like, a few things I didn't like, and then go into the ending very briefly. So as you can imagine, there will be spoilers in the ending section. If you don't want to know what happens in this movie, I would turn it off when I get to the ending section. Before that, I'll keep it vague. I'll keep it spoiler free. I'll let you know when I get to the spoilers. So if you don't know the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles story, I don't really know how you couldn't not know them, but just briefly, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they are teenage mutant ninja turtles. They're living in New York. They live in the sewers. And a lot of the films focus on like them wanting to come out of the shadows, meet a human person, kind of interact with human society. This is no different. These turtles have been in the sewers ever since some ooze from Dr. Baxter was dropped in the sewers. It created them. And now they're living in the shadows, but their big desire is to be out in the open, to be accepted by the human world that's all around them. Will they be able to? Will they kind of get their wish? And also, will they stop whatever catastrophe is about to happen? Well, you have to watch the movie to find out. But things I liked about this movie. The first, I love the animation. The animation is really, really nice. Again, it's reminiscent of kind of like Spider-Verse. It is frantic. It has this like hand-drawn, cel-shaded style. It's not as like clean and kind of stylish as Spider-Verse, but it has its own style. There's a lot of like scribbled type of background animation. A lot of the colors seem to be have like a hand-drawn aspect. It is really striking and really kind of gets your attention right from the start. It really draws you in. And it does feel like a very unique looking film. The second thing I loved, similar to Spider-Verse, the music. The music is great. It's high energy. It is loud. It has some kind of like current pop songs. It has some older songs and some like energetic kind of industrial electronic type music as well. One of the people that did the music is Trent Reznor. So as you imagine, it has a kind of Nine Inch Nails feel at times. It is really, really good. It's really exciting. It keeps you in the film. The third thing I love, look, the humor. This movie is really, really funny. It has a lot of really funny moments, as you'd expect from a Ninja Turtles film. And it kind of fits with the kind of humor of these turtles. They're all teenagers, so there's a lot of like teenage humor. There's a lot of, I don't know what you want to call it, like modern internet type humor. There's a lot of like memes in there, but then there's also just some really funny jokes and some situational things that happen that'll keep you entertained. And there's some jokes for adults too. There's some jokes that kids might not get that adults will definitely get. So I do like when movies have that, especially kids movies, keeps it entertaining for both audiences. And the last thing I love, look, I love the cast. It has a great all-star cast. They're doing voices that are kind of tough to play. Some of the cast members I didn't really even recognize until I saw them in the credits. So that was really nice to see this like all-star cast trying different things. So that being said, things I didn't love as much. And these are both very, very minor. And this first one's kind of a mixed bag. The movie has a lot of like timely references, like pop culture references, things that are current as of now or just kind of in the past as of now, which I did like. It made it funny, but it makes me worry that this might not have the staying power of some other types of movies that maybe kind of don't have specific current event or pop culture kind of references. It is very minor. It is a very, very minor point. And I did like that they were kind of interweaved in the movie. It just made me worried that like in 10 years, people might not get some of the references and some of the humor in this film. But you know what? That's a problem for future David. Right now, current David did love this film. And the second thing I didn't love as much, there was like a reimagining of Splinter. And I didn't love as much as kind of like the comic Splinter that I knew growing up. So it was a different overall feel for him. I didn't really love it, but it's, again, very minor because I did really enjoy this film. So that being said, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, or TMNT Mutant Mayhem, comes to theaters on August 2nd, 2023. Definitely think you should check it out. It is really fun. It's really entertaining. And it's good for the whole family. So I'm going to get into the ending right now. So if you don't want to know what happens in this movie, I would turn it off now because there will be spoilers. So this film starts with Baxter Stockman. He is making this mutant, this like mutagen, this ooze, so that he can kind of morph these animals into, I don't know, talking things, like sentient things. He is kind of shunned by society, even though he's brilliant. And so he wants to create kind of friends, like a family, with things that he feels more comfortable with, which are animals. So he has a bunch of animals, he's experimenting on them, but there is this like task force that comes in and like stops him, tries to shut down his experiments, that causes something to explode, which then leads to some ooze leaking into the sewer, and also leads to all the experimental animals that he had escaping. What could go wrong, right? You have mutant animals on the loose and ooze in the sewer. Seems like everything will be fine. Well, 15 years later, you have the result of that. You've got the Ninja Turtles. They are teenagers. They're living under their dad Splinter's kind of rules to stay away from the human world. He had a bad experience early on when he was trying to introduce them to the human world. And so ever since then, he has stayed in the sewers and not allowed them to leave. But they're teenagers. They're rebellious. They are curious. They want to get out there. And eventually they do. Eventually they meet this high school aspiring photojournalist, April O'Neil, who, through some circumstances, causes them to all become intertwined into this plot to try to figure out what is happening around the city. So what is this thing? What is this story that they're going to try to break? Well, there is a new entity called Superfly that is kind of this crime boss that is acquiring all these like strange scientific things throughout the city. He hires like thugs to go and get them, and then when they deliver them, he takes them, and sometimes he kills those thugs, and we don't know who he is. We don't know what he is building until a little bit later. But eventually, the Ninja Turtles hatch this plan to try to both bring down Superfly, the supervillain that is kind of terrorizing the city, and gain acceptance. They figure if they can use April O'Neil, who is an aspiring journalist, to document them bringing down this criminal mastermind, they could use that publicity to become like heroes in the people's eyes. They'll see them as heroes. They will not shun them, and they'll finally be accepted. Will it work? Well, let's find out. So eventually, they track down the last person that did a job for Superfly, and he had this complicated component that was supposed to be delivered that night. The Turtles decide, you know what, we're going to deliver it, and then we can capture Superfly. They get there, and what rolls up is not what they expected. Superfly is actually a superfly. He's basically like a mutant fly. He's essentially like, remember when Baxter in the animated show became a fly because he was mixing with some of the ooze and trying to experiment? Superfly is basically Baxter Fly, except he is stronger, cooler, more deadly than the Baxter Fly ever was. But it's a similar kind of idea. Now, Superfly was Baxter Stockman when he was experimenting. He was like his baby, essentially. He like nurtured this fly, was trying to build like a whole family of animals, and Superfly was like his first one, his favorite one. Now, Superfly is grown up, and what he remembers as a kid was these humans came in, they killed his dad, and like forced him and all of his mutant family to go and live in the streets. And so he does not like humans at all. And I mentioned his mutant family. Well, the other animals that were in there are all kind of grown up now, and they are a part of his family as well. So you've got a bat named Wingnut. You've got a stingray named Ray Fillet. You've got an alligator named Leatherhead. You've got a frog named Genesis Frog. You've got a cockroach named Scumbag, and you have a gecko named Mondo Gecko. You also have a warthog named Bebop and a rhino named Rocksteady. Some of those you recognize from the animated show. Some of them seem to be from later Ninja Turtles movies. Maybe some of them are new. I didn't catch all of them, but they all look like I'd seen them before. So I think this is just an amalgamation of various characters that have graced the Ninja Turtles world. But they're all together. They're all part of this gang that is helping Superfly. Now, Superfly is building a device that is going to shoot ooze into the atmosphere. That ooze will rain down on everyone and cause all the animals to mutate, and unfortunately cause all the humans to be kind of like overpowered by these mutant animals. So it's not going to be good for the humans, but it'll be good for all the animals. So eventually they kind of like trick Superfly. They hang out with him to try to get into his good graces, and then eventually try to like take this last component and try to escape with it. But unfortunately they are overpowered by Superfly and all the other mutants. The component is taken by Superfly, and the Turtles are captured by this organization that was the origin of everything here. They were the organization that invaded Baxter Stockman's lab. They were the organization that like caused, that unknowingly caused the ooze to leak into the sewer. It is this organization called TCRI, and they are led by this person named Cynthia Ultron, who finally tracks down the Turtles and captures them. She wants to use them to get their mutant ooze to then do her own experiments, create her own super soldiers, her own like mutant animal soldiers. And so she is going to take the ooze from the Turtles. Now, thankfully, the Turtles still have friends. They have April and they have Splinter. They get in there, they break them out. But now the Turtles have to clean up this mess that they've created, and now they're going to have the help of April and Splinter. They go and track down Superfly in his lair with his like device about ready to go, and they convince the other mutants that you know what, we don't want to kill the humans, and the other mutants kind of agree. They've all been doing it because Superfly has been telling them to, but the other mutants all kind of want to help out. They don't want to kill all the humans. They want to try to learn to live with the humans as well, which is interesting. I liked this change. I liked that these mutants, like, they were silly at times. They didn't feel like completely incompetent like Bebop and Rocksteady did in the TV show, and like Baxter the Fly Guy did, and like Baxter Stockman as a fly did in the TV show. These mutants felt like they were, more individual, more like capable, and didn't just feel like they were there for comic relief, which I liked a lot. And each of these other mutants had a very different personality, but they all meshed with some of the Turtles. They had like similar interests, which was fun to see. It was fun to see them kind of like pair up and become friends earlier when they were trying to get into Superfly's good graces. So the Turtles are able to convince the other mutants to fight against Superfly, but Superfly is adamant. So all the mutants try to gang up on Superfly. They try to take him out, and they do a good job. They eventually are able to kind of like break the machine, have it fall into the ocean along with Superfly. They throw Superfly against the machine. He falls down, and then the machine falls on top of him and breaks to the floor and into the ocean. But unfortunately, you have Superfly in the ocean, and you have all this ooze from the machine going to the ocean. What could go wrong, right? Well, Superfly mutates now that he's like mixed with all this ooze and these other animals, and turns into this like giant amalgamation animal. He's like mostly a whale, so he gets really big, but then he has pieces of other animals throughout him. He's got like turtles on his back. He has like a claw still. He's got some other stuff. And then he goes to the zoo, because that's his first stop after he like mutates into this Godzilla like super monster, and gets some other animals. So by the end, he's got like horses that are kind of twisted into legs. He's got like an elephant face. He's got a giraffe on his face. He looks like a cross between like Katamari and Godzilla, if that was like a crazy super monster. So now the Turtles and these other mutants have a problem. They've got to figure out how to fix this. And so they head to the city to try to stop Superfly, but he is just too powerful. He is way too powerful for them. And while they're in there, the news starts reporting on these like horrible mutants destroying the city, led by these teenage turtles. And all the news media is talking about how these turtles are the bad guys. And so it's kind of the opposite of what they wanted. They wanted to be friends, and now they're going to be vilified because no one understands what they're doing. But eventually, again, April O'Neil comes and saves the day. She goes into one of the news stations. The person like runs out when something happens in the news studio. The person like abandons her post, and April takes over, and she starts telling the real story. She starts telling how these mutants are all trying to stop this Superfly monster, and that they're just trying to help. And this causes the narrative to change a little bit. Now the people of New York start to try to help the Turtles. They're not afraid. They're not running away from them. They're trying to help the Turtles to defeat Superfly. Eventually, they're all able to work together in this really kind of elaborate sequence where the humans and the mutants all try to get this anti-mutant like bullet pellet thing that TCRI has developed to stop the mutants. They get this pellet up into the blowhole of Superfly Whale, which is where a lot of the ooze is coming out. It's kind of a direct line into his bloodstream. And when they finally get it in there, it like replicates in his body. It causes all the mutations in him to like disentangle, and everything like falls down. The whale falls into like a puddle in New York City, which is probably not going to be good for that whale. But most of the other stuff seems to survive. The horses all run away. I'm sure the giraffe is fine. And you don't really know where the Superfly is because he is now a regular fly. So the Turtles save the city. Everyone is happy. Everyone has seen the like positive news, and they all cheer them on, and they're finally accepted. So later we see in the sewers, all the other mutants come to live with the Turtles. So it's not just Splinter and the Turtles, it's Splinter, the Turtles, and all the other mutants as well. Splinter has started dating the cockroach mutant, so now he can have a mutant companion. And the Turtles look like they're getting ready to go to school. They take their masks off, they get dressed up in regular clothes, and they're going to high school, which is what they really wanted, which is strange, but you know what? Hey, they're living their dream. So when they finally get to high school, they're nervous. When they open that door, everyone cheers them on. Everyone's excited to see them. They're finally accepted. And that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. And like I said, there is a fantastic stinger partway through the credits, you get to see like some cell phone videos of the turtles interacting in class. They're all doing different hobbies. Donatello has found like his people. He found like a LAN party group, like a nerd group. Michelangelo is doing like stand-up comedy. I don't know what Ralph is doing, but he's probably like playing sports or fighting with people. And Leo is hanging out with April, who he has a crush on, and he invites her to prom. And then we see all the turtles at prom hanging out, dancing, and having fun. And then it kind of changes, and we see that the turtles dancing are being observed. And you see like a surveillance video with like the turtles outline, and you see Cynthia Ultron from TCRI watching them. And she says the turtles are easy to find, but they're going to be hard to capture. We better call in the specialist. We better call in Shredder. And as it's panning back, you see that there is a fly in like a vial. So it seems like they've caught Superfly. Maybe they're going to recreate him to get him involved. And then the scene like changes to an outline of Shredder. You can see his like blade armor. You can't see his face. You can't see much of him, but you can see at least his blade armor. He's staying outside New York. It seems like he is going to come in and be the enemy in the sequel, which sounds fantastic. I'm really excited to see where this goes. I liked this film. I'm excited to see the next movie, and I'm really excited to see reimagined Shredder. So that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. It comes at theaters on August 2nd, 2023. Definitely check it out. I thought it was a lot of fun, and thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.